Okay, so the biggest question here is it really true what Toto Wolff says, what Carlos Sainz says, and what a lot of pundits are saying that I call it the RB22 / Max machine man combination is the benchmark for deployment and for engine power. Now we know that Toto Wolff likes playing games, so he might just say that. Carlos Sainz, I don't see Carlos Sainz as a liar. You read the data. The data clearly shows that on appearances, Red Bull was fantastic. Verstappen was doing metronomic laps within a tenth of each other on day 1 and day 3, I think, or day 2 and 3, in which he was hitting 344, 318 kilometers every time on the same straight with a flat throttle, which means he was testing the limits and wasn't even pushing it because he was looking for race pace. Race pace going into curve 10 and curve 12 at 260, something like 260 kilometers per hour, which is very fast. And he was doing what people call stitching. He was basically shaping his laps at a pace that he feels is controllable. And if you see him going 344, which is the highest, and not losing any pace on the straights and being able to do that for 10, 15, 20 laps, what he was basically doing was putting together a composition for a race in which you don't go all out for one lap pace. And that shows that if Mercedes isn't sandbagging and McLaren isn't sandbagging, the power unit for Red Bull is fantastic in being able to measure out pace so that they don't have clicking and keep a high average speed without pushing it to the limit. So we know that's what he was doing relative to other people. And the GPS shows that they had a 0.6 of a second advantage over other teams on the straight. So what they found a way to do is to find a very high lap pace in which on the straights, they don't lose any pace. And the straights are going to be more important than the corners during this era. So what it basically means, in short, is that their software, in combination with their chassis and their engine, the software is able to map out a race to give them a very high pace, to have them have much higher speeds on the straights, which are important, without any diminishment. And I think that's probably due to two reasons. It's not only the software, but the software is developed by the way that Verstappen uses the throttle and uses downshift. So what Verstappen is doing is when he's going into high-speed corners, he's downshifting into gear 1 when other people are in gear 2 or 3 so that he could have more revs, and those revs actually harvest energy for the straights. So the software itself is a software that's built off of the intelligence of Verstappen. The software itself maps the way Verstappen drives and the way he distributes energy and does it. So I think we need to give credit not only to the people who made the Ford engine, but to Verstappen, because every step of the way he used sim racing and throttle application to show the software what to do. Second of all, they've shown that the engine is tightly wrapped into the body so that there's a beautiful symmetry between the aero, which is the shape of the car, and the power of the engine. So it looks like Red Bull has gotten a good balance between aero and engine power and shape of the car. So kudos to their scientists, because when you have very good aero, it makes the car more efficient energy-wise, and therefore it harvests energy better. Hey, I hit it, man. Hit it. What do you think I follow me? So we're very quickly, though. Clearly, Red Bull was the benchmark this week. But the question is, were McLaren and Mercedes not showing what they fully have? So we can only say that on appearances, Red Bull is the benchmark. But we have to were McLaren and Mercedes sandbagging because they had a lot of clipping. A lot of people will argue that they were clipping on purpose, or now is not the time for them to put their high engine mode. But I get the feeling that Red Bull is not so much about the power of the engine. It's about their software, which seems to be able to manage everything in sync. And we don't know if Mercedes software does that, but we know that Mercedes were able to deploy a lot of energy. But the question is, can it distribute all of the energy effectively the way that Red Bull? I would argue that probably not, because of actually it could do well with Russell, because Russell also knows how to manage energy very well, but he doesn't quite have the same skill with throttle that Verstappen does. So I think the difference is that Red Bull may be the benchmark when it comes to software for efficiency around the track. What do you think, Afolabi?
Yeah, I quite agree with you. And they've really made the software and control of this particular vehicle very, very sophisticated. And the way you said it, I mean, if you look at energy recovery strategy, the throttle mapping, battery management, all the deployment algorithms have been tailored to suit Max Verstappen's drivability. And this has shown the car to be very, very reliable, especially on the straights. I mean, if you look at the pace that was set on the straight line speed, faster acceleration phases were generated. Some of the lap times could be repeated across multiple runs. I mean, you look at when you're analyzing these things, it's not just about one fantastic lap, but ability to repeat the lap times across multiple runs shows how reliable the engine is. And then if you look at the sector times too, especially in high power zones, we could see clearly that this engine is doing very well. If an engine can repeatedly show measurable advantage in those areas, then people will stand up and notice it. And I think that's what has happened in this particular case. And also the thermal efficiency of this engine. It has shown a lot of high thermal efficiency. It's not just about reaching a very high horsepower, but it's about how efficiently the fuel energy is managed and how it is converted to useful power. So I feel the most competitive engines will deliver strong output, which this engine delivered, especially without any wasting of fuel or over consumption, and there's been no case of overheating. So I feel this engine has been really, is off the mark, so to speak.
Yeah. And let me say something. If McLaren and Mercedes are on purposely not looking for metronomic pace now and on purposely sandbagging and clicking to have a psychological advantage, they're wasting their time, because Verstappen doesn't compare himself to anybody else. And what they are doing, if they are doing that, is stupid, because this is the time now for you to test your car at the limits so that you can know what to expect coming forward. You see what I'm saying? I get the feeling that Mercedes and McLaren, they can't hide in the third testing in Bahrain. There's no way you're going to go into a race in Australia without pushing your car in practice to know. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to me, sandbagging is a very bad strategy, because when you're sandbagging, you're not actually testing your car at full limit. You understand? It's like me saying I want to run 100 meters and I run 70% for 20 weeks. No, you got to push it 100%, because you have to realize that when you push it, that's where you find out where your technical flaws are. So if Mercedes and McLaren are sandbagging, that's dumb. I don't think McLaren is sandbagging. I think McLaren is working in phases. I think next week McLaren is going to push it all out. But I get the feeling that Toto Wolff is trying to hide something, so he's having his drivers not drive all out. But that's going to affect them, because we know that what practice brings perfection. And the only way you can become perfect is if you practice at the limit. If they're not practicing at the limit now, and if they try to sandbag next week, when they get to Australia, where you have to go all out Q1, Q2, 3, where there's no mistakes, they'll still be learning. So if they're trying to sandbag, they're only fooling themselves, because Verstappen doesn't believe them anyway when they say that he's the fastest. You get my point? These types of stupid psychological games are pathetic. And you can tell I'm a Verstappen fan, right? But no, seriously, it's pathetic. It's actually pathetic, especially if Mercedes faked engine failure to scare everybody. It means they're not focusing on themselves. They're focusing on trying to deceive other people, which is a bad strategy. What do you think of Kunle? Is Kunle there?
I think Kule is gone now.
What do you think of Falabi? So the point I'm making is that you can't take sandbagging to that level, because you get my point. You have to still push your car. But what I would say is that if by week 3, testing in Bahrain, if Mercedes is still sandbagging, it means that they're just scared because they don't want their compression trick to be caught. What do you think of Falabi?
Yeah, I think they're sandbagging. If at all they're sandbagging, it won't go beyond this week, frankly speaking, because they need data and outcomes that will help them fine-tune whatever it is they need to do. So basically hiding the true performance of your car is a flawed strategy, in my own opinion. Let your car run the full length, find out what the issues are, and nip it in the bud before the first race of the season. And from what has been said so far, nobody has said Red Bull is magnificent, they have killed it. But when they tell you are a true benchmark engine, what they're trying to tell you is that you have a very high ceiling and you have a very large gap for improvement and upgrade, which is a good start. And if you look at, like I said, the straights, the performance on the straights and throttling out of slow corners, which is very important when you are harvesting energy. And in energy deployment is going to be very important, has made this car's performance really very reliable, in my own opinion. So I think by next week, we should get a clearer picture from all the teams.
Yeah. And aside, I don't think McLaren is sandbagging. What I think McLaren is doing is that they're not in the performance phase yet. And I think you're going to see McLaren do its performance phase in Bahrain next week. What do you think? Yeah. And we're going to see what Red Bull. I'm still.
Yeah, so
about. Yeah. So Kunle, what I was saying is that if Mercedes is sandbagging, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. Because when you sandbag, that means that you're not testing yourself at the limit to make improvements for yourself. It means you're scared that people will find out what you have, but that means you're not psychologically playing your own game. You're looking at everybody else rather than focusing on your performance. What do you think, Kunle?
Well, when Mercedes like to play their games as to why they're being careful and being secretive about what they have. Yes, I mean, it may well appear that they're shooting themselves in the foot by not taking full advantage of the testing opportunities. And also the car itself, because we've not seen its full potential, we don't know how it's going to manage with this new power system where you're trying to conserve power and you're cornering and so forth. Although, that will be interesting because Mercedes is traditionally a car that's good in cornering and not high speed. And McLaren is the same, whereas it's only Red Bull and Ferrari are the faster ones. So the way they manage that power will be different. They might, even if you're going slower, if you're going at 10 miles an hour and the other guy is going 5 miles an hour to conserve energy, you're still faster. So it will be an interesting...
But here's the problem, Kunle. You're right, the Kunle blackout. So what Kunle is saying is true, but what we have to remember is that this is not a cornering regulations now. The algorithm makes the cars go slow on the corners and maximize on the straights, so that if McLaren and Mercedes don't maximize on the straights, they're lost because of the distribution of energy, cornering is no longer important. You see what I'm saying, Afalabi? The algorithm basically puts the speed on the corners as something in which Verstappen said it, my chef could drive around the corners, which means the algorithm is making it so that cornering is no longer important in this era of F1, which I think is terrible because cornering should be the essence of F1. What do you think, Afolabi? Kunle, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, so what I was going to say, Kunle, is that what they've done now is the cornering now is cruise control because they save the energy for the straights. So if you have an advantage on cornering, it's no longer an advantage because the harvester is saving everything for the straights. Go ahead.
Yeah. Cruise control, is everyone at the same speed on the corner or are they...
What I'm trying to say is that everybody on the corner now is going to be around the same speed because the algorithm says go slow on the corners to harvest your energy on the straights. So teams like McLaren and Mercedes, which are able to go all out on the corners, they don't have that advantage anymore because cornering will be very slow now, and straights will be So it's like F1 has been inverted now. F1 used to be a cornering sport, now it's a straight sport. It's like drag racing now.
Must have to be some fast corners, though. It's still the same track.
So here's what I'm trying to say, Kunle, here's what I'm trying to say. Let's say a McLaren can go 260 kilometers on the corner and a Red Bull can only go 240. It doesn't matter now because the algorithm will make McLaren go at 230 to save energy for the straight.
So the McLaren's agility is cancelled out because it doesn't need to perform. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because the algorithm will say it's too expensive to go fast on the corners because you have a battery engine. So the battery engine now has made F1 to benefit the teams that are the electric battery, the teams that specialize in straight line speed rather than cornering. Exactly. Which is why Haas is doing well, because Haas is a straight line speed team. You see what I'm saying? So that advantage has been lost by... Yeah. So now what's going to determine this championship is how good your software is to distribute the energy around the track. But the advantage that Verstappen has is that he can do tricks with his clutch to even harvest more energy for the straights. You get what I'm saying? This shit is crazy, man. To be honest with you, I think this is the death of F1. Verstappen said that F1 now is Formula E on steroids. Formula Electronics. And you know what Nora said? Nora said Verstappen and I are getting paid millions. If he doesn't like it, he should retire. But everybody else, Hamilton.
A lot of things happen in theory look disappointing. I want to see how it is in practice.
Oh yeah, no, it's always going to be fun. It's always going to be fun to watch. But I get the feeling that now what you're watching is computers will determine who wins. But we know that Verstappen is so good that even because he works on the sim, he'll start teaching the computer to be better. Do you get what I'm saying? Because AI is a learning machine. It learns from human beings.
Of course.
You get what I'm saying?
And it continues to train itself with the knowledge.
And the payments of this world will be more adept with that sort of technology. I mean, Verstappen is 35. I mean, he's young for us.
No, Verstappen is 28. He's 28. He's young. He's still young. He's 28. Yeah. No, he's 28. Verstappen's 28.
Well,
Norris is 23. So they call Verstappen old, but he's still in his 20s, which means, and also he grew up in the sim era. Yeah, he's 28. Yeah, Verstappen is 28. So what I would say is that Verstappen, because of his commitment to sim racing, he's actually, and because of his work on the throttle, he's going to teach the software how to adapt to other lazy drivers like Norris who play golf. Norris basically said it. He said that F1 is not important to him. He wants to live his life. He's happy that he won one time. Let me stop before so last thoughts, Kunle, before we go to our Falabi.
Yeah. So I mean, we're all here thinking about what's going to happen. That it's going to be an advantage for the faster cars. But the beautiful thing about competitive motorsport is that it never works out the way you think it's going to.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I can say about the variables for.
Here's my predictions. My prediction is that in Australia, Russell's going to come first. Antonelli is going to come second. Verstappen's going to come third. Norris is going to come fourth for the first race. What's your prediction, Akule?
Where is it? Where's the first race?
Australia.
Australia, is it cold at this time of the year? I think it's hot. Australia is hot.
Yeah, because it's Southern Hemisphere. It's their summertime, yeah.
Yeah, I think
that might be a bad news for Mercedes, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Red Bull and McLaren. I think McLaren are going to be behind. I think Ferrari will mix it up with the McLarens. I think Leclerc will mix it up with the McLarens, and I think Red Bull will steal it. So I'll probably put one.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Verstappen 1, Norris 2, and Leclerc 3.
Okay, I'm going to switch it. I'm going to say Verstappen 1, Leclerc 2, and Norris 3. But we're on the same page. What about you, Afolabi?
Yes, I would say the same thing too. Verstappen, Leclerc, and then McLaren.
Yes.
That's the way I see it, because I mean, in this kind of situation, it's good to have a head start early in the season because of the changes.
BMN fifth for Haas, for that.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the football and let's end this shit.